One cut.
All right. Hi, ladies. So nice to meet you all and on the screen. Um, I am, and my name's Jenny Griffith, and I am an Ayurvedic practitioner and herbalist and chef, and I specialize in women's health. So I am obsessed with cycle syncing and teaching this for bodies who have wombs or bodies who have uteruses. And I've found that this information that I'm going to share with you this evening is extremely life-changing and hopefully will give you some empathy towards yourself and a lot of your emotions and the way that you live throughout the month, where you'll find just you're being a little more gentle with yourself, and not being so hard on yourself. This information that am sharing with you tonight can be applied to your business. It can be applied to your relationship. It can be applied to the way when you hang out with your friends, why, like when you say yes, when you say no. So I think you're going to really find interest in this. I would definitely take notes. I can share the PDF afterward. I have like a Canva presentation that you might want to refer to if you want to share this with your friends or you want to share this with your sisters, because this is really powerful information. So yeah, I'd love to just go around and share, and no judgment, just be honest, real. Everything's okay, whatever you say, and just share what your cycle means to you. So I'd love to just tap in with Tara. You want to start? You're the first one on my screen, so share a little bit about what your cycle. I mean, you already shared a little bit, but just go ahead and share a little more if you like.
Yeah. This is going to be a very powerful hour for me. My period is probably one of the things in my life that is the relationship I hate the most. Like
Mm.
I every time I bleed, I always dread it. Like I'm on day 3 right now. I'm 27 years old and I got my period when I was 9.
Mm.
So I have been on this journey for quite some time, and my whole entire life, it's always been negative, even from the other relationships with like other women in my family. I don't know if it's due to certain like medical issues, but I I've been told either like, oh, you're faking it or it's all in your head. And I remember in high school, especially, I really thought I was insane. Like my biggest fear was that someone was going to send me to an institution, because especially anytime my period came around, like while I was on my period and leading up to it, I would have these emotional breakdowns that just made no sense whatsoever. My period pain has been so bad where I was almost hospitalized. I used to take 14 extra strength Tylenol or Advil every single month for 5 days in a row. Never worked, never did anything. Um, but yeah, there's just so much there. I've been on like maybe 7 different types of birth control. Some of them gave me like very severe psychological symptoms that didn't really seem to help my pain or the amount of, you know, the flow. um, and then it'll be 4 years now that I've been off birth control completely, just because I noticed my body would also develop not a normal, like a tolerance to it. I would try. I developed a DVT as well from one of my birth control pills, and then since then I just said, you know what, like forget it. Like there has to be a better way. There has to be a more natural way. And then for the longest time they thought I had endometriosis, and then we found out it's not endometriosis, and I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Apparently there are 4 types. I have the one where the adaptogens and my DHEA levels are like through the roof. I've always had super high testosterone, low estrogen, progesterone, and yeah, I'm at the point in my life where I want to take that relationship, that negative time, and it happens every single month. So, I always feel like there's only 1 week every month of my life where I feel like everything's like balanced and good, and I'm not on the verge of some breakdown, or it's been very, very intense, and to the point where I would even have to miss school and work for the first 3 days of my menstruation, and nothing's worked. I've tried everything, uh, to the point where even employers have questioned like my honesty and like my character, just by virtue of like how bad my symptoms are, and how like much pain I'm in. It's ridiculous. And there'd be even certain times where I would bloat so much that I couldn't breathe. Like you could bounce like a quarter off of like my womb space. Like I looked 6 months pregnant, and with that seems to kind of taper off, but every cycle seems to be different. But yeah, even most recently this Friday, I knew I was getting my period, because like I had a huge mental, it was not good. It was really bad.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think that's normal, even though the world and doctors tell you it's normal, and they're like, oh, take Midol, or oh, I'm so tired of people telling me to take Midol. Like I have a very aggressive reaction to it, to the point where I'm like, nothing works. I don't know. So I'm hoping to change that relationship and make it one that's a lot kinder to myself and healthier. And because I developed so young, I think I just have such a negative view on it too, because I'm sure we can all relate in our own ways, but when people look at you differently, like to be 10 years old and to like have bloomed like from nothing to it's just, yeah. So I've always had a hard time. So I'm excited to learn and bring.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. How about you, Kylie? Nicole, hi. We're just sharing what our cycle means to us. Go ahead, Kylie.
Okay. So I also, like, growing up, had like a negative, I guess, effect or reaction to my period. But it was because of like my mom mostly. Like every time her period come, like it always seemed like such a negative thing. Like she would complain about it. So I feel like I just got so used to like it being such a negative thing. Like, oh, it's such an inconvenience. And I feel like I definitely have like a lot of negative emotion towards it for that reason. Like, oh, it's so inconvenient. It makes me feel so angry. I feel like I'm not myself. And I feel like I don't have as much control, I guess. And, as I told you, control is like a thing that I have an issue with. And I feel like during my period, I just lose it. Like I'm just like, I have no control of this. But recently, like I started to offer my blood to the earth every month. And I've been doing that for this month will be like 5 months now. And that has made me be a lot more compassionate towards my womb space, because now I understand like this is the shedding of the month. And when I offer my blood, I'm getting like, the divine guidance for the month to come, which is like more of a like my ancestral tradition. And I'm just trying to like understand it more and see that like my womb is a portal to the divine, and just try to understand it and love it more because it is part of me, like as a woman. So I feel like I still have those underlining like negative emotions towards it. Like my period's supposed to be here next week and I'm going on vacation next week. And I was like, really? Out of the whole month this week, But I'm like, it is what it is. I have to accept that I'm like a healthy woman. I get my period, at least it's coming. At least we're good. We're in the clear, whatever. Just trying to be positive with it. And I feel like I didn't know what cycle syncing was. So when I saw the title, I was like, okay, like this seems like something that's going to be exciting to talk about. So yeah, definitely excited.
Thank you for sharing. Hi, Bethany. Can you share?
Yeah, I love this topic and I love this question, and thank you for inviting us to share on it. Tara share, wow, that was really powerful, and I resonated with a lot that you said. I too blossomed pretty early and have like polycystic ovarian syndrome, or whatever the hell it's called. I actually haven't really seen a doctor for it since I was like 18 because I sort of went on a war against my period. Like I just kind of took all kinds of birth control for so many years to knock it out. And I did get an IUD put in, and it more or less took my period away for like 5 years. Which I thought was great. I was like so in favor of that. I'm like, I don't have to deal with the bullshit. Like, this is awesome. And what that really was, I mean, now that I think about it, is like a war against my own period. So much so that like when I had it taken out, however many years after I had it put in, eight, I think it was 8 years after I had it put in, I had it taken out. I still didn't get my period back. And it's really only in the past like year that I've gotten my period back and started reconnecting to my period, like intentionally, in a way that I literally had not done before. And so I have heard of cycle syncing. I have done a class with it, but I feel like this is stuff that like it is really deep, and like I haven't become like the kind of practitioner of all of the things that I would like to be. So I'm excited to hear more today. I am getting in touch with my period, and it's from a spiritual side for sure, but it's also from like a very physical side. I also about a year ago started working out and changing my relationship to my body generally, and like how I was using my body, feeling my body. And a lot of my coaches in the gym were like, we need to talk about your period and how your period impacts your body. And like, are you tracking your period? Are you in touch with your period? Just from like the space of a personal trainer, having you monitor your body throughout the month and how it changes. And so it's been sort of delicious, I guess, to start thinking about my body in a very biomechanical way that's connected to my period, and also in like kind of this more wholesome way that Kylie was talking about, where we can use it to like connect with our divine and get downloads and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
sign me the F up. So yay, excited to be here.
Thank you so much for that share, Bethany. Beautiful. Hi, Nicole. Can you share on your walk?
Yeah, sorry guys. I like had a weird day today and I was like working all day. I forgot. I have a really weird relationship with my period. I from until I was 17, I hadn't gotten my period. And I'm like young in school, so I was like super delayed. I got my first period in 12th grade. So until then, I was really obsessed with it. I remember ever since I like watched the video, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna bleed. Like I need to have my like pad with me at all times. I like had this crushed up pad for like 8 years in my backpack or whatever. And then so I was like I felt really excluded, I think, and felt really like not a woman for a really long time because of it. I also like didn't have much boobs or anything. And then once I got my period, I really liked it. Like I felt like a woman. I felt really nice, but then it was so it was so irregular, and it was I like got acne, everything like insanely, and um I it wasn't getting regular, and I was like around peers who were like all already like used to tampons and used to everything, and the doctors, and my acne started getting really bad, so the doctors were like, you should get on birth control. And sadly, I've been on birth control ever since. So it's been like, I don't know, like 8 years on birth control. I definitely have recently really started to hate it, but I'm really scared to like feel all of that hormonal yuck that I felt before. But I do want to get off of it. I think I need my life to get a little more stable. or I might just get off of it cold turkey. I'm just a little scared, but definitely um, excited to hear about this. I feel like I see all these videos. I think the world is just telling me I need to get off of birth control because I see all these videos about how it's so cool, like in your like this phase you like feel like this, and in this phase, and I'm like, well, I don't fucking have any of these phases. So yeah, I think I want to learn more, and like I want to start feeling more natural. So yeah.
Thanks so much for that share. All right, ladies. So this call's only an hour, is that right? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna get into it then. So my name's Jenny Griffith, and I shared this with two of the girls, but not the two that showed up a little bit later. I am a Ayurvedic practitioner, herbalist, and chef, and I am really passionate about women's health specifically, and this beautiful seasonal way of living called cycle syncing. And cycle syncing is a way to live in unison with the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle through what you eat, through the way you exercise, through the herbs that you take and the supplements, and through what you say yes and no to, which is very important. So I'm going to share with you tonight those specific guidelines for each phase. And I also want to share with you a little bit about the hormones that are actually like what's actually happening in your body. This is really important for you to understand. And it might feel like at times a little bit of like, oh, I feel like I'm learning about my period in elementary school again. But we as women, we actually need to be reminded a few times, like what the estrogen, progesterone's doing, what's actually happening inside our womb space. Like some people don't even know that there's only one egg that drops. Like there's I think we forget like the science that's actually occurring in our womb space. And so I started cycle syncing. I'm going to go ahead and share my little screen here. I know if you're walking, it might be a little bit hard, but can you guys see this? There's my background. Hold on just a second. There we go. Can you guys see that? Perfect. Okay. So this is me. I used to be a big raver. I'm 35 now, but I used to love to party. I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome. I didn't bleed for 3 years. And I went to the doctor and I was like, what's wrong with me? And, they were like, oh, you have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Let's give you some progesterone and let's get you on some birth control. I had already been on birth control for 15 years. I started when I was a junior in high school. And so I tried all the different kinds of birth control, the patch, the pill. I had this, like, this is me at a rave, obviously, but the polycystic ovarian syndrome was so rough for me. I had this like weight gain. I don't have it here because I was younger, but it was like I moved and I was working out all the time and doing all this stuff, but I had this like heaviness to me and I didn't know what was going on. And then there, lo and behold, I have a string of pearls, which are strings of cysts all over my ovaries. And so, yeah, I did everything that the gynecologist told me to do. I took all the hormones. I took the birth control, only to receive more problems. And so I actually work in an addiction recovery center now. That's the main part of my work. I work at a center called Via Kali Ma in Carlsbad, San Diego. And we're a 30-day women's treatment center. And I teach Ayurveda and cooking classes and cycle syncing to the women because there's this big link between women who are not connected to their womb space, who unfortunately are addicted to substances. There's a big connection here. And there's a lot of women, yes, who are on these IUDs that have punctured their uteruses and who have that have caused tons of problems, endometriosis, birth control, that has really hurt women in their mental health, and so much more. So I see this hand like daily, weekly. I talk to women about what their womb cycle means to them. What does it mean? And sadly, about 90% of women in the treatment space say it's inconvenient and they hate it and they want it to be over. And it's just like a thing that happens. And so I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to really help women reconnect with their womb. Like Kylie said, it is a divine portal. You are life-giving when you're cycling. You are able to bear life. You have a vitality that a 48-year-old woman does not have. You have a juiciness, a lushness, like a glowing energy when you're cycling and when you're fertile that you will not have when you reach perimenopause and menopause. So every time it comes, if it does come, it's a ceremony, it's a ritual, it's a cleanse, it's life-giving. Even though you're not pregnant or you're not having a baby, when the bleed comes, it's a ceremony of joy and life and vitality, even though for some women that might be hard because their menstruation is so intense, right? Let's say I'm sorry, remind me your name, babe. Tara. There we go.
Yeah, sorry.
Tara, that might be hard for Tara to do that, to honor it and respect it and love it and worship it when she goes through hell every month. So through this class tonight, I hope that each one of you can view your cycle a little bit differently. And there's a part in this class tonight that you can find that will help you bring ease and flow to your life and make you feel better and make you feel like a goddess every time you bleed. And throughout the month. So let's get into it. And please, if you have a question, just like drop it in the chat. I don't know if I can see the chat right now, but yeah. So I already asked you those questions. So what is cycle syncing? I already talked about that, but let's go over it just for a moment. Bringing awareness to your hormonal fluctuations and phases of your moon cycle with the way that you live so that you can live in complete and ultimate flow to maximize your feminine power. So we're going to go over exercises, types of food, and what you say yes and no to. There's the 4 menstruation phases, which hopefully you all know this. If not, totally cool. It starts with the bleed, menstruation. We go into follicular, we go into ovulatory, and then we have our luteal phase. So we're going to go through each one of these. And just a side note, the rest of the world operates on a linear framework that supports a male hormone pattern. So just like Tara said, nobody understood her. The doctors told her she was fine. She's gotten in trouble at her jobs or not understood. We don't live in a world that supports this way of living. We don't, like, we as women or womb havers, we need to stand up in womb sovereignty. That's what I call this, is like, really, this is a womb sovereignty class where you're going to get to share this wisdom with your sisters or your daughters or your colleagues or whoever it is. And we love and respect every woman that goes through this process every month. So, and yes, it's a male hormone pattern that we are adhered to: career, trajectory, objectives, climbing the ladder, to-do list. That's against the feminine nature. We can do to-do lists, the whole month, but we're not always go, go, go. That's why women burn out more than men, because they're like forced to just climb, 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 go, go, go. And like, we need rest. So, let's move into the first phase. And a few things, ladies, if you do have a business, you can apply this to your work. I would say applying it to work and this could help Tara too, but achieving sustainable business growth, including rest, know when to launch things and to start big projects, maximize productivity, communicate your needs, establish boundaries, and have an overall better life and business that flow simultaneously together. So whether you have a career or a job or whatever it is. Physically, some great things about this is you can supercharge your sex drive. Everybody wants that. Reduce PMS symptoms, increase fertility, maintain weight swings, reduce anxiety, increase your gut health, increase energy. Energy is one of my favorite ones on this one for sure. And there's a ton more stuff. So if you do have terrible PMS, I pray that this science, I guess you can call it a science, will help you. So let's start with the bleed. I know there's a lot of words. If it's too much, just look at my face talking. Because some people are visual learners and some people are audible learners. So what actually happens inside our body when we bleed hormonally? We have progesterone. It's kind of hard to say. Progesterone and estrogen. These two things are going to drop. The menstrual phase usually lasts in between 5 to 7 days. It depends. Some women's are 3, some women's are 4, some women's are 8. But it's around that period. And so the menstrual phase is our yin time. You know, the yin yang symbol, yin and the yang. When we bleed, it's a yin week. Why do you think it's a yin week? I'd love to hear from you. Why do you think it's a yin week when we bleed versus yang?
Is it like a time to be receptive instead of giving? Or do I have them wrong?
True. Yes. It's a time
Okay.
it's a time to be receptive versus doing.
Okay.
That's the word that we want. So it's yin week. It's restorative. It's chill. This is a time where we're not overdoing. We're chilling. That's the energy that we want to embody. This is the season. There's a season that goes along with each phase. So when you're bleeding, you're in your inner winter time. So I want you to think about that. Who's bleeding right now? Anybody? Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Tara's bleeding. So right now it's your winter time. So every phase has an archetype. The archetype, someone already said, I think it was Bethany who said, like, yeah, I just want to receive the divine downloads or something that happens. And that's exactly what happens when you bleed. So the archetype is the wise woman or the crone. Why do you think it's the wise woman when you're bleeding? Your intuition is higher when you're bleeding. So you may receive downloads, you might receive information that is because your intuition is higher. You're actually wiser when you're bleeding. So it's a good time to like journal, take note, take inventory of your month. So exercising, rest. You can still do nature walks and Pilates and yoga if you want, but we're not doing a HIIT workout at CrossFit. We're not running a triathlon this week. And this is a big thing that I see in the athletic community. I went on a bachelorette party 2 weekends ago, and the bachelorette started her period that day, and then she got on the treadmill and like ran for 3 miles and like sweat her ass off, and then she popped Advil, and I just like looked at her and I didn't say anything. I was just like, in my head, I was just like, dude, no, like that is not what you should be doing right now. Because the point of cycle syncing is that we're trying to live in unison with the progesterone and estrogen. We're trying to live with the hormonal fluctuations. If we go against them, right now our progesterone and estrogen dropped. So if we're just like going hard on a CrossFit workout, we're literally like taxing those hormones. So that's just going to cause problems for the rest of the month. It's going to cause that brain fog. It's going to cause that anxiety. It's going to cause that crazy PMS where you like break up with your boyfriend the same time every month. Right? So, or, you know, you break up with your partner at the same time every month. So we need to be mindful with the movement and not overdo it. That's it. It's pretty much that. Some women, me specifically, receive an energy spike like on the second or third day of their bleed. Does anybody get that? This is not all women. Yeah, some people are really down and out. For me, I get an energy spike around day 3. I usually follow that and will give myself more energy because I can feel my follicular stage coming a little bit earlier. But this is where we learn to tune into that stuff. Nutrition wise, we need to increase vitamin A, zinc, and iron. Why do you think we need to increase iron? Because we're losing blood. When you lose your blood, there's a lot of iron in it. So we need to eat foods with iron in it. Dark leafy greens, seafood. I love sea vegetables for supporting the menstrual cycle. Get yourself some algae or some chlorophyll drops or some seaweed chips or whatever you need to get. Some sea moss. Red meat has high levels of iron. Organ meats, ferments, beets, anything that's red is going to be great for this phase. Bone broth and hydrating is huge. So I like to drink like 3 of these a day, you know, when I'm bleeding, just to support that whole system. And side note, does anybody know why we bloat when we are PMSing? Can anybody think about why that might happen?
I heard something that it's like, I don't know if this is true, maybe it's wrong. I like saw something on TikTok that it's like your uterus or something is pushing on your intestines. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard.
Interesting. I've never heard that. But I will look into that. So the reason that we bloat is because we're trying to retain minerals. We're trying to retain nutrients in the body for preparation of potentially a sperm landing into an egg and becoming pregnant. So your body's literally doing like a preparatory like service for you, holding minerals. So I also want you to think about these symptoms that you might have and just allow a little bit of empathy to come in for that, the bloat, right? It's normal. For you, Tara, sounds like you have it really bad. I would want to check in with you about, okay, like what's the nutrition looking like? What's the water intake looking like? What are some of the daily activities that are happening that could be like really accentuating some of this stuff for you? Herbs. I'm not going to get too into herbs. I am an herbalist. So, you know, if we had 2 hours or a whole week for this class, we'd get really in depth with a lot of this stuff. But this one's easy to remember is cramp bark. Go figure. Cramp bark is good for cramps. If you do have those really terrible cramps, highly recommend cramp bark. Wild yam is another one of my favorites. Cinnamon, ginger, fennel, turmeric. Find yourself a moontime tea. You can find those on Etsy where they're already blended for you, and you can just hydrate with these herbal teas. Cramp bark is a good one. It's not the most pleasant tasting, but if you incorporate it with orange and fennel and some other sweet things, like some more energetically sweet herbs, that can be really nice. Yeah, go ahead, Tara.
Oh, sorry. Okay, this will be a little TMI.
No
The
TMI
only
here.
that I've noticed that have eased my pain and discomfort while bleeding is through sex and cannabis. Those are the only 2 things that seem to alleviate like 80% of my symptoms. And I've brought it up awkwardly to the gynecologist and my doctor, and they just look at me like, we don't know why, or like you're weird or whatever. Like they've said interesting things, but I've wondered like why specifically, like I mean the cannabis part I'm not really, it's more like why would penetrative sex help like my pain. Like it's like it just goes away. Like and it doesn't come back. So I don't know if it's like a blood flow thing or
That's a great question. I mean, I know other women who use CBD and cannabis for extreme, pain and cramps, and they say it's one of the only thing that works. Sex, the only thing, I don't have like a great, answer for that. I could just think, you're putting a lot of movement into the vaginal canal and it's helping move things. And I mean, the reason we have pain is because parts of your uterus are sloughing off. So it's like a ripping, this sounds so terrible. It's like a ripping sensation, right? In the womb that's happening from the skin, like deteriorating with those cells. So, the penetration could just be helping that process happen quickly and faster. That's what I would say.
Yeah, they've always made it sound so gentle in health class, like, oh, it slowly sheds over time. They've never said like your egg explodes out of your follicle and then so I find it I'm so happy that we're doing this tonight because I feel like I know more about like male biology than female biology, which is a little silly when you think about it, but yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, women are more complex than men. We are like the moon. We have phases. Men are like the sun. They're on or they're off. Okay, Kylie, did you have a question?
Sorry, I like ran away real quick. But it was just a quick question. I was gonna write it in chat. But is red clover good for the womb health? Because I read that it was, but at the time I was on birth control and they were like, don't take it while on birth control. So then I didn't take it, but now I'm off of it. And I was like, is it actually good, like for the womb?
Red clover is one of the best women's health herbs.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so when it comes to work life or potentially if you have a business, evaluate your progress. So make a plan for the rest of the cycle. Like this is a time where you can reevaluate the whole month, not for your work, but just in general. Block off bigger chunks for doing nothing and resting. So I like to plan. I have little colors in my Google Cal that tell me what phase I'm going to be in. Like if I were to show you, do you guys know what Notion is? It's like a planning, it's like there's a bunch of these planning things, but every week I label my week with the phase. And that's how I know like how much to fill my calendar. So if I'm in follicular and ovulatory, my calendar can be stacked. And if I'm in menstrual and luteal, I take half of the things that I do off and I just roll slow. So this is a way that you can start really taking it easy this month and giving yourself a little break. Like rest should be like cool. It should be like the cool thing that all the women are doing because this is going to make things so much easier for you and your symptoms and your emotions. Ask for support. None of you are any of you mamas on here? No. Okay. Yeah. So if you have kids or whatever, you have a partner, ask for support. Be like, yo, I need help making dinner. I can't do it tonight. Or I've got so much on my plate. Is there any way I could just rest and maybe you massage my feet or something. And see if you do have a partner, see if they can get on board with this and maybe they want to learn about this too. That's also the new cool thing I hope happens with all this. Snuggle, go to bed early, self-care, reflection, journaling. Be careful overextending yourself or pushing too hard. So this is a time that I say no. If you get a friend who texts you to go to an event, if you're a people pleaser, which a lot of women are people pleasers, why do you think a lot of women are people pleasers? We're natural nurturers. We're natural mamas. Even though you don't have a child, we're all natural mama nurturers, whether it's a pet or a person or something you want to nurture. So you automatically want to just like please people. So really try to check in with yourself this week and be like, okay, where can I maybe not do that this week and just not go to the event, maybe I want to just domesticate my house and make this cool recipe in my crock pot. Like this is the week for that. Maybe this is where I go down the rabbit hole with that funny YouTube series that I'm really been jamming on. This is the time to do that and not overdo it. Okay, I'm going to move into the next phase. Ready? Here we go. So the next phase is our follicular. This is a yang week. This is a yang week. So we're taking action this week. This is our inner spring. So we've come out of winter. We're coming into spring. I'm in follicular right now. Anybody else in follicular? This is the week. This is right after your period. No? Nobody else in follicular? Yeah, Nicole, you are? You just end your bleed?
Honestly, I don't know. I think I finished my period like a week ago, so maybe I'm at the end of it.
These are things to start getting tuned into. Get yourself a tracker. Even though you're on birth control, start doing that now, because when you phase out of birth control, you can just be on this, and for me personally, I used to track my cycle. I started doing this thing called the fertility awareness method when I got off birth control. It's a method of birth control that doesn't require any, prescriptions or pills. And you track your cervical fluid, you take your basal body temperature, and you learn when you're fertile or not. And you train and you teach yourself to learn how to create your own fertility awareness method on your own self. So getting on a tracking app is really important. Yeah, Tara.
Super quick. Because you're the perfect person to ask. My whole entire life, no one has been able to answer this question. Why am I frozen? Like frozen. Like, you have friends that are like, oh my God, I'm so cold. Even if it's like plus 35 out, like only when I'm bleeding am I frozen, like my fingertips are cold. However, the rest of the month, my whole entire life, people to this day, if they knew me in high school, they would make fun of me. Like I would have hot flashes and I'm running like so hot, like sweating like there's no tomorrow. And it doesn't seem to change whether I'm in follicular or the ovulation. Like I think probably while I'm ovulating, it's a little bit more, but I've always wondered my whole entire life, how come I'm like frozen when I'm menstruating and then the rest of the month I'm the one that's like, open the windows in the wintertime. Like, and I just feel like it's so easy for me to just sweat.
Well, everybody has a unique constitution. And from a holistic Ayurvedic standpoint, you might be a pitta, which means you hold more fire in your body than other people do. There's always other people, there's always the person who gets on the treadmill and they're like sweating bullets like 5 minutes in. And then there's the person who gets on the treadmill and they like barely have like a dot of dew on their face. So we all carry these different internal thermometers. But what you're saying does make sense because the body temperature rises when we're ovulating. Because why do you think it rises? Because we're trying to
get pregnant,
incubate an egg. We're trying to incubate an egg. And so if you were to become pregnant, your temperature would actually rise. But once you start bleeding and there's no pregnancy happening, then the temperature drops. So that could be why you feel really cold. It's very minuscule amounts of temperature change with the basal temperature change throughout the month. But I would say more so that's probably about your unique constitution versus your like basal body temperature relating to your hormonal cycle.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've heard of pitta and kapha and the other terms before.
Yeah, so I have a feeling that might be what that is, but I'm not sure exactly, but that's just a hunch. Okay, so we're in our inner spring. And this is when our follicular stimulating hormone, that's called FSH, it's regulated by the brain. So hormones are so cool how everything's interconnected. And this thing is going to trigger the stimulating hormone, and then our estrogen and testosterone are going to rise. So now remember, our hormones were down here, now they're going up. And what happens when our hormones go up? We get more energy, which is great. That's my favorite part about being in folliculars, because I start to feel this natural like energy, and I'm like, oh yes. I open the blinds, I'm like, yes, I'm coming out of my hole. And just so you know, if you did want to get into the fertility awareness method, your cervical fluid's really important. So I know this is kind of gross that I put this on here, but it's important to know this stuff. Vaginal discharge can be white, sticky, and creamy. So that's how you might know that you're in follicular. The archetype is the maiden. Free, childlike, clear, energized, creative, this fresh energy. It's like it's springtime. You're like ready to smell a flower. Exercise. This is when we can do the harder stuff, the HIIT workout, the running, the cycling, the lifting, the cardio, the triathlon. This is where you can kind of go hard with your workouts. I like to like lift weights during this week. I'll do like a gasser, like I call them gasser workouts, where you just go to no, like to all, you go super hard, like to the fact where you fall on the floor, like, so this is a time where you can do that. So really harness this energy, because your hormones want that. They're like, yeah, we got it, babe. Let's do it. Let's do that. Nutrition wise, vitamin B, vitamin C, zinc is really important for a lot of the weeks, to strengthen strengthen the release of the egg and chances of implementation in the ovulation phase. Pumpkin and flax seeds, by the way, that's pumpkin seeds. Flax, coconut, grass-fed ghee. I don't know if you all like ghee, but this is a wonderful Ayurvedic medicine that is super good for the gut and the uterus. Dark leafy greens, berries, eggs, beans. So one thing is, have any of you heard of intermittent fasting? So men can intermittent fast 365 days a year because it works with their hormones. Women cannot do that. This is another way that women go against their hormones. We need different calorie deficits throughout the month. This week, we don't need as much food. You might notice that your appetite goes down a little bit this week. You might not get into the refrigerator as much as you normally do. And this is a time where you could do a juice cleanse or a fast or something, whatever you want to do, mono diet, one day, eat once a day, whatever. You could do a few days of that here, because your body actually doesn't need as much caloric intake. It's only about a 300 to 400 calorie difference. So it's not like it's like a huge, huge amount, but you might just notice that you might not be as hungry this week. Herbs. Collagen's not really an herb. That's more of a food supplement, but collagen, nettle is great. If any of you are familiar with nettle, I highly recommend doing nettle infusions for 8 weeks, and see how that does for you. Buy a big bag of nettle and make the nettle at night and let it sit overnight in hot water, strain it, and you drink nettle infusions all day. It's one of the most versatile herbs you can ever drink, and does a multitude of things for the body, especially the reproductive system. I'm not going to go over all the herbs. Socially, cognitive functioning is higher. So work and start on new projects, schedule calls, interviews, networking events, go out with friends, go skydiving if that's what you want to do. Try something new that you wouldn't normally do, because you have that energy, you have that higher cognitive thinking. Be careful, harness your energy. Don't do something too soon or get ahead of yourself. So be realistic, even though you might think you can do all the things. Just be realistic, check in with yourself, take a sacred pause. I call them sacred pauses, where we stop in the middle of our day and we ask ourselves, what do I really need right now? So making sure to do that. Any questions on follicular? Okay. Next, we have my favorite Ovulation. This is another yang week. This is our summertime. Woo! Sadly, this only is about 3 to 4 days long. I wish it was longer than that. But this is when the egg is released into the fallopian tubes and our estrogen and progesterone peak, and then they drop. Anybody ever felt like they felt their egg drop? You feel like a little pain in your uterus? Yeah, that's a thing. Some women have never felt that. I felt it. So your discharge is wet, slippery, and stretchy. It's the ideal fluid for a sperm to snuggle up with one of your eggs and make a sweet baby. So this is the time where you're horny, you want to have sex, you want to jump on everybody, and you just feeling good. The archetype is the mother, the nurturer, or the superwoman. Makes sense, right? We're wanting to become a mother potentially. We feel like a superwoman. Your confidence is higher this week, which is really one of my favorite parts about ovulating. All my girlfriends and I kind of use this lingo anyway, and they'll call me to hang out and I'll be like, hell yeah, I'm ovulating. Even though I'm married and I have a husband and I'm not like trying to get pregnant right now, I just know that I like to go out more and have fun and be interactive with people. It's like a empowering time. Exercise, HIIT workouts, cardio, high energy movement, same thing as follicular. You just have more energy to like do those active workouts. Nutrition, we need to eat foods that aid in liver detoxification. So this is really important since our estrogen is high. Remember, everything's connected with the hormones, the brain, the liver, the nervous system. So eating healthy fats, B6, anti-inflammatory foods, garlic, dark leafy, and cruciferous veggies, berries, glutathione-rich, tomato, bell pepper, and berries, oysters. Fasting is okay. Sorry if I have the best grammar and all this. This is the last time I did this. Nobody was looking at this. So I did it with a computer facing towards myself. And it was live too. So I'm sorry if I have grammatical funny things going on here. Anyone familiar with glutathione? Glutathione is a master antioxidant. If you even wanted to take it to another level, I would say and you had the means, go get those glutathione IV bags, or the injections. They're really incredible antioxidants that can really transform and detoxify your body, and would be a good time to do that. Herbs, there you go, Kylie. Red clover, shatavari. Shatavari is one of my ultimate favorite Ayurvedic herbs. If you're familiar with Ayurveda, it's in Ayurveda, they call it the queen herb, because it's so powerful for when you have cramps. It's good for libido. It's good for perimenopause. It's good for menopausal women. Maca is incredible. Hopefully everybody's heard of maca. This is a Peruvian plant root, maca root. Also great for libido and harmonizing the reproductive system. So like I said, it's time to nurture your relationships, connect with your community, launch your program, create content, share your beliefs. So if you feel strongly about something, maybe this is a good time to share about that. You're more magnetic. So you feel more feminine, you feel sexy. Maybe this is a good time for you to go on a date. I say get out your high heels this week and dress up like a goddess. Maybe you're a yoga person and you wear yoga clothes and baggy pants all the time, but maybe this week you get out your cute stuff and you wear it out. Maybe if it's just dinner with your girlfriends, but just embody your feminism. Have sex if you want, and just be careful that this is where you might get pregnant. This is the time that you're extremely fertile And when most people do get pregnant is when they're ovulating. So, but sex is going to feel a lot better. So you might just want to harness that depending on your level of protection or whatever it is you desire in life. You get to choose that whole ending process. Network, strut your stuff. That basically means put on your sexy high heels and like do something cool. Be careful saying yes too much and don't neglect yourself. So kind of same things to be careful every week. Don't overdo it. Just take the middle path and like have fun, but don't go overboard. Okay, so now we're going to move into, I'm a little over, ladies. You guys cool with me sharing the last one? Yeah? Okay, yeah. I mean, we got to do it now. We can't just stop it. Okay, so now we have our luteal, which is this is before we bleed. So things take a turn now. This is our inner fall. So it's fall time now. Unfortunately, luteal is one of the longest phases. So if you feel sometimes like my period's not till 10 days from now, why do I feel so crazy? Yeah, that's because your luteal is the longest one. So just remember that it's like, yeah, this is a long one. So you might feel a little wacky for a while. So what happens? Progesterone and estrogen rise, and then they suddenly drop if the egg isn't fertilized, which then triggers the period. Vaginal fluid is tacky, dry, or non-existent, which a lot of women experience dryness the week prior to their period. You won't be as juicy as you normally are, but that's not for everybody. That's just some people. Archetype. This is one of my favorite parts about cycle syncing is this piece of information. The wild woman. So when you're in your luteal phase, you are easily triggered. You are extra sensitive. You're more aware of details, and you have zero tolerance for things that aren't in alignment. So if you're at the sink and you see that the towel that normally goes on the right side is on the left side, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, who put that there? Like, just like, that's what I'm talking about. Like little teeny things like that are just really going to aggravate you. Your inner critic is high. So you're going to be criticizing and scrutinizing everything. Everything. You might feel like a crazy lady. This is where people get diagnosed also with PMDD, which is premenstrual depression. Unfortunately, there's a large amount of women who are diagnosed with this and put on antidepressants with no talk from the doctor about cycle syncing or other ways to handle their emotions. Just, oh, you're depressed. Oh, it's, yeah, PMDD. Here's an antidepressant. High amounts. I see a high amount of this in the treatment center. So I'm also on a mission to see if we can get this education into, I don't know, wherever we can get it. Exercise. Energy will decline this week. So it's time to opt for yoga, Pilates, nature walks, and mellow movement. So we're kind of taking it down. We ovulated. We were like, yeah, party time. Let's wear high heels. Now we're going into domestication mode again. Nutrition, no fasting, no restriction. Like you're not restricting yourself from calories. That doesn't mean you're going to eat like a massive cake, but it's okay if you get into the refrigerator 6 times in a day this time. That's normal. Sorry, my words are going off the screen here. But I want you to remember that next time you eat more than you normally do, just check in, say, oh, yeah, I'm in follicular. Yeah, because my body needs more caloric values. Yes, I'm going to trust my intuition on my eating. Yes, I'm okay. No, I don't hate myself for eating more right now. So really checking in with the appetite and like loving yourself. You can do more carbohydrates this week, like sweet potato, quinoa, squash, high magnesium foods like chocolate. Yeah. Why do we want chocolate? It has magnesium in it. We need magnesium. That also helps reduce bloating. Chickpeas, walnuts, and apples are also great. Herbs. For those of you who have been diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, you might have heard of this specific herb called chastaberry. also called Vitex, which highly recommend that one starts to take when you have polycystic ovarian syndrome. I have a whole protocol for that, but chasteberry is also really good for PMS in general. Like you can take it every month. Definitely research that one. That's a really big one that's, lines up with like red clover and all the women's health herbs. Ginger, burdock, tulsi, ashwagandha. More to talk about on all those, but another time. And then socially and within the work, declutter your life this week. So PMS is like kind of like a time to cleanse out what you don't need. If you have an assistant or something, like utilize them. You have support. Finish projects, clear out what's not working, make connections, make space in your calendar to rest, say no, snuggle, go to bed early and chill. Be careful. This is a big one, ladies. Be careful with your social media consumption this week or this time, because remember, you're easily triggered. You're easily, you're going to easily be, you're easily sensitive. So you see something online, it's just going to like tick you off. Unfollow your triggers. Avoid excess caffeine consumption. That's a big one. I think that's important for anyone, especially if anyone has anxiety. Coffee and caffeine are going to exacerbate it. Avoid making decisions during existential crises. So this is one I was talking to my girlfriend about last night. She was saying that every month she gets so aggravated with her partner about the same fucking thing. And I said, don't do anything right now. Like, just wait another 7 days, wait till you bleed, and then reanalyze. And like, that doesn't mean that you should dismay what's happening in your life, because everything is magnetized when we're in this stage, right? Everything comes to the surface, and we're like more aggravated by it. But avoid making big decisions, this week if you can. Let yourself kind of come back to the heart, come back to yourself, let your hormones regulate. Right, because when we go into the bleed, remember, we come into that wise woman intuitive space, that like very in touch space. So allow yourself to go through this emotional roller coaster, and then allow yourself to then make decisions after that. Okay. So this last slide is just, if you cannot practice cycle syncing because you're on birth control, or you have, an illness or disease, you still can practice cycle syncing, but you're going to do it in unison with the moon, because when you're on birth control, your natural cycle is not really there. So you can use the moon to live in this way. So I want you to know that. It could, and you can do it if you're pregnant, you can do it if you're perimenopausal, you can do it if you're menopausal, because us as women, we do connect deeply with the moon. So you can still do cycle syncing. So in the new moon, that will be your winter time. In the waxing crescent, that's your springtime. In the full moon, that's your summertime. And then the waning crescent is your autumn. So you would just take the cycle syncing principles and you would use that according to the moon. If that sounds hard for you, there's a Google setting on your Google Calendar that will put all the phases of the moon into your Google Calendar. You guys can look it up. It's like a setting. Now, just type it in Google, like moon phases Google Calendar, and then it'll just edit them into your calendar, and you can start. Of course, you can use other moon apps and guides. And if you guys are into astrology and all that stuff, you probably know more than I do. But you can still live in this way, if your circumstances are different. And I think it can be just as profound. So, ladies, that's all I have for you tonight. I know I went over. If there's any questions that you have, I'd be more than happy to stay on and answer your questions. If you have to go, I totally understand. But I don't want to leave you hanging here. So if there's anything that came up for you or you want to ask,
I had a question.
here.
So with my with what I like, I'm on birth control, and I know you said that you were on it. Do you know like a good way to get off of it? Like, is there a way to like do it in like a hormone balancing kind of way? Like, should I practice and try? Bye, Bethany. Should I practice like doing all of this before so it's already good? I'm just like really nervous. So, or like, when should I stop and what part of it, or does it matter? I don't know.
I think that your body, how old are you?
24.
24. I think your body is young and
Yeah.
vital and powerful and healing. And I think you would be surprised at the process of how your body will naturally want to come back to that natural cycle, because you're so young and you're so vital that it's just naturally going to happen. So I don't think there's an unsafe way to do it. I would say, like, if you wanted to do it under the supervision of like a naturopath and having that support. But what I think would be most important for you is using herbal support, like a lot of those herbs that I talked about today, and really just being gentle with yourself and not living in an unhealthy way. The more healthy you're living when you get off birth control, the faster it's going to come back and you're going to get back into a natural rhythm. And remember that when you get off birth control, your emotions and your energy body and your nervous system, they're just going to want to go back to a healthy state of what they were, you know? So I think you'd be surprised at how much your body will come back into unison, even better than you were before. And you said you started birth control when you were very young, right? You said 9?
Yeah, but well, no, I started my period when I was 17 and I got on birth control at 18. So I like have barely been on my period, and that period that in between was really intense. So I don't know. I think
For
that's why I'm really nervous.
a lot of women that I talked to had really intense periods when they were in high school, like ones where they felt like they had to get hospitalized, where they would pass out. And so it's not a normal thing. But remember that when you're 17 years old, you're not even in your like fullest expression as a woman. You're still growing, and now that you're 24, you're more fully grown into being a woman. And I think that your body is in a way different place than you were when you were 17 years old. So I would say that the support I would get if I were you, I didn't have any support. I just got off of it and like treated my body well. It took me about a year to become regular again, but I would just reach out for support from maybe a holistic health practitioner, like a naturopath, just to be held, because they're like a women's health naturopath I think would be really wonderful for you to go through that process. And I think you'll be surprised.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna head out too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
I have a last question. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you so much for all of this. Like, I'm on the verge of tears. Like, thought I could reclaim that time, and like, it's always been like I've affectionately referred to my uterus as a dementor my whole entire life. Like, just it seems to, if anything, while I'm bleeding, I have like my intuition and all of the qualities you would hope to feel and embrace are not there. Like, I just want to sleep for like 5 days and have no one bother me. And especially now, it's unfortunately where during this phase, I have to find, well, we're selling where I live, like there's like a lot of like big changes. So it's like now I can understand better, like, oh, that's why if I push myself during these times, this is the repercussions and the ramifications of that. But it's just like, so I'm also like, I don't know if you can do like, do you offer like online, or like, because I know you're in San Diego, I'm in Canada, but I was just like, wow, like if you, oh my God, I can't even, I'm still processing everything, but I just can't thank you enough for this. Like,
Oh, I'm so glad it was powerful. And you knew it was going to be. You told me, you said it even before we started.
yeah, I'm just tired of having that like love-hate relationship
Mm.
with my body. And man, if I could do it all over, and like I've even been fighting with like, I had to find a new family doctor because they were pushing me to take more birth control, even though I had a DVT in my leg from it. And then they wanted to get me on the IUD. And I'm like, no way in hell am I ever touching an IUD. Like last time I checked, things are supposed to exit, not enter that way. Other than, I don't know. And I've just heard so many horror stories, and I've always had such a difficult menstruation anyways. I'm like, I don't need more complications.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I guess my question was more in terms of
I'm just gonna, do you mind if I just stop the recording?
oh yeah, for sure.